You just have to look around and see how beautiful this place is and the enjoyment that people can get from it. It is essential for me. This is protected for future generations. I've grown up on this river. My earliest childhood memories are of this river. Over the last decade or more, this river has become under some serious threat from various instances of pollution, from illegal landfilling, from unauthorised quarries. I have been intervening to attempt to ensure that the authorities protect this river. Not so far from here, we have one of the largest illegal landfills in Europe, which encroaches to within 5 metres of the river. And that was all down to poor regulation and lack of planning. We now have 1.7 million tonnes of illegal waste lying beside the river, posing a serious threat to not just the ecosystem here, but to the drinking water supply of Derry. Across Northern Ireland, we have seen the systemic failure of regulation, and this is why I and others like me need to intervene where government has failed in its public duty. I term it as regulation by agitation. When you've put so much time into ensuring that it's protected or trying to protect it, to see that destruction through negligence, it's not an accident, it's negligence, and through that negligence, all that hard work can be wiped out. The Faughan is my river. It flows through me as sure as it flows through this landscape, and for that I'm compelled to give my river a voice.
They could come to Greencastle, start pile driving at any day. I will put myself on the line and I will go out in my wetsuit, swim around the platform to stop them from work. Well, my name is Christine Gibson. I came back to Greencastle only 2.5 years ago. I lived here when I was a teenager with my mum. I found out bit by bit what was happening here to this beautiful place. Last June 2015, the council, Newbridge Down Council, approved the planning permission for a terminal, a ferry terminal, which is just going behind me here. This is a Ramsar site, an ASSI and an SPA. This is the only site in the whole of Carlingford Lough that has those designations. So why would anyone choose this one site to put a ferry terminal and then run a ferry 28 times a day from here around this island, which is a breeding island for terns and seals, and around that island over to Greenore? I found it difficult. No one would take the case on pro bono. There's a such thing called representing yourself as a person or litigant in person. And I thought, should I go down this route? This is a bit scary. I thought, no, it's too important. Have to do it. So that's what I did. I took counsel to High Court, and in High Court the decision was quashed. So we won the case. It put some faith back in there is a system out there that we can rely on. This is so important, not for just Greencastle, which is a tiny little peninsula, but it's so important for the whole of the lough. It has very specific characteristics which will be gone forever because of one short-term project, which is heartbreaking. The EU directives are there, but we're not doing anything about them, we're not adhering to them. So we need to take them to court to do that. We need to be able to make the government accountable for protecting our environment. Otherwise it will be gone, and once it's gone, that's it, forever. Forever.
My name's Dermott Hickson and I'm from a very little known part of the world in South Derry called Newbridge. It's about halfway between Belfast and Derry. So this summer the Department of Infrastructure announced they were going to proceeding with plans to build a dual carriageway, a motorway essentially through this part of the world. So Ramsar designated wetland, it's an ASSI and it's a National Nature Reserve, and it's somewhere it's been a great source of inspiration to me growing up. I always look back at this place as being somewhere that has made me care about things beyond humanity. Each of these fields around here has a different story. Farmers, they might have been the landowners, but we always saw ourselves as the custodians. Imagine 22,000 cars a day hurtling past behind us here. It's such a gentle and tranquil part of the world that doesn't bear thinking about. I mean, the strand at Lough is the title of a poem by Seamus Heaney. He wrote very longingly about the landscape around here, soon to be turned to fiction by this development of the A6. This landscape is global heritage. It's an artistic heritage, it's a cultural heritage that belongs to not just the people around Aughrim Hill or the Aughrim Lane, belongs to County Derry, it belongs to Northern Ireland, it belongs to Ireland, it belongs to Europe, it belongs to anyone who's ever connected to the themes of what Seamus Heaney talks about. The decision to proceed with this route and this particular stretch of the road is a travesty, when there were other routes available that weren't even assessed, and that's kind of what the most galling thing is about this entire development. And they decided to railroad through this area despite all the environmental implications and the cultural heritage implications. And there needs to be another environmental impact assessment done. It speaks volumes really about the direction of our country and our society really, when a road, regardless of consequence, has become more important than like a major part of our identity, which is our cultural heritage and our landscape.
I'm 28, I've lived in this area for 28 years and I've never more felt a part of it as I do now, because the people that I've met aren't just acquaintances, like they're friends, and it's lovely to know that should something happen in this area again, we're going to be like on it, I would hope, pretty quick. In this case, you actually had a public water authority whose their sole purpose is to keep clean and safe drinking water for the people of Northern Ireland. And they actually leased out land to an oil and gas company without a public consultation, without planning permission. And the oil and gas companies, they may be known for many things, but they're certainly not known to want to keep water safe and drinkable for people. All these trees were planted on land that was taken to build a sort of safe water catchment area over 100 years ago for Belfast, Carrickfergus, Whitehead and surrounding areas. Lots of people love it and use it. Horse riders and bikers and walkers and people that just want to come up on a Sunday stroll or whatever. To be honest, we thought there's no way that this is going to happen because no public authority is going to actually hand over land to an oil and gas company to drill on. We went around door to door and we told people that there was a possibility that somewhere in this area was going to be a site for exploratory oil or gas, potentially fracking. On a Friday, people got letters delivered around this area to say the company will be moving in on Monday. Me and my mum had decided we were going to be there for 8 o'clock in the morning, driving around the corner, just heart racing, thinking like, will anybody be there or will it just be me and my mum? And I'll never forget seeing all these cars parked up. There was a tractor there blocking the gates and there was a big banner there and there was people there that I had never met before. Yeah, it was an amazing start. And what was wonderful was that there was just people that had never ever got involved in this type of thing before. So we had people that just had decided that this was a big enough threat to the place that they love and they were going to take a stand to say that they just didn't think that this was right. For me, one of the best things about the campaign, that coming together of people, that it didn't matter where they were from, what they believed in, what their background was. With people camping. So everybody was down at the camp and there was, a barbecue going, there was tea being made continuously. People sat round, we got to know each other, got to make friends with people. Nature seemed to be on our side, and when they drilled they didn't find what they expected to find. The reason that this company were able to do it in this way was that they did it under permitted development rights, PDR, which means that you don't apply for planning permission. You just get sort of by default permission to do this. One of the major wins and a really important thing out of this was that now we're going to get the law changed to say that oil, gas and mineral extraction is no longer allowed without planning permission. For people that got involved in this, it was about seeing what it's actually like when these things happen in your own backyard, and knowing that although when it happens in other places it seems comfortably far off, but when it's here and when it's now and when you're seeing it in front of you, sometimes there's just that push that you just cannot stand by and let these things happen.
I grew to love this place in the early 80s when I came here birdwatching. Lough Neagh is the heartland of Northern Ireland. It was described many years ago as the 7th county. It's bigger than the country of Malta. It's also the biggest freshwater lake in this part of Europe, the most abundant inland fishery in Europe, and it's a place deep and rich with mythology and archaeology. Tens of thousands of birds congregate here, colourful, beautiful creatures that migrate here in the wintertime from Scandinavia and from Iceland and northeastern Canada. The eels that migrate here from the Sargasso Sea off the Caribbean, or the tufted ducks that breed in Lake Mývatn in Iceland and come here every winter. This is a global treasure house, it's a global resource, and it belongs to the people of the world, but it also belongs to the wildlife. It's also got immense problems. The biggest issues are the water quality problems, particularly from nutrient enrichment from agriculture and from sewage treatment plants that aren't working as effectively as they should. This is our biggest commons, this is our biggest shared space, and yet it's been turned into a Klondike by the unlawful extraction of millions of tons of sand, scarred from the bed of this loch, changing forever the ecosystem where the fish spawn, where the diving ducks dive down to get their food. So this is the removal of a habitat, and what's remarkable at this is a designated site. It's one of our most protected sites, at least on paper, and yet these companies can come in and take over the loch and destroy it and remove the habitat forever. This is irreplaceable. This is unique. What's happening to Lough Neagh is what's happening to the planet. Anyone can come in and exploit without any adherence to any environmental laws. This is a place where environmental crimes take place. We have a set of modern legislation around habitats laws and environmental impact assessments that are being totally ignored. The government's duty is to protect this place and to manage it for all the competing resources and all the competing interests for decades to come, to pass it on. When you hurt places like Lough Neagh, you're hurting all of us. And I can't stand here and not do something about it. Together we can change this place for the better. Together we can take on a government who doesn't seem to care, and certain industries who simply want to exploit in a Klondike fashion what's left. So let us come together, let's protect these special places for ourselves and for future generations. It's always better to light a candle than to curse the darkness.
Well, we live in Lecale, this corner of County Down, which I believe has the richest biodiversity in Northern Ireland.
We are standing on an old railway siding, and there used to be a railway track right into Lough. Now it is abandoned and nature has taken over. People, I don't think, really value it, but nature values it. And a couple of years ago we discovered that there are bee orchids flowering. That was a discovery which we enjoyed, when you discover something by yourself. The question is, will it always be valued, or will it disappear, in my mind, because it's vulnerable.
People use it, they can value it, they can get a lot of pleasure out of it, and so it means something to them. So when it is threatened, they will stand up for it, and they will champion it, they will contact their MPs, they will write letters. That's what we do a lot of. We will get these places that are protected on paper to be protected in practice, hundreds of them. Lecale Conservation is about trying to see that the authorities, national and local, do their bit to ensure that the next generation has a rich and vibrant natural and built heritage to pass on.
It's really nice to meet like-minded people as well, because sometimes it can feel very isolating when you stand up for nature and you campaign.
No economy will thrive without a healthy environment, but I don't think people get that connection between the environment and the economy.
I'm Vincent Lusby, and we're here on Ballydorrig Farm. It's just outside Limavady, which is a beautiful place to live, very scenic. We breed British Alpine dairy goats and also Toggenburgs. They're good dairy goats, they're good milk goats. I love farming and I love the animals which I care for. There's a planning application in for a major industrial scale pig farm just about half a mile from here. And they're proposing to have about 2,500 sows, which will produce up to 60,000 pigs per year on one farm, producing about nearly about 20,000 tonnes of slurry. We've never experienced that type of industrial scale pig farming in Northern Ireland before. It's a major threat to me, my family and to the farm. It's quite a large industrial group who have business interests in America, Republic of Ireland and in Great Britain. Importing feedstuffs from South America to fatten pigs here, leave the slurry here and then export the pig meat to Chinese market. These large industrial organisations see Northern Ireland as a place where they can get planning applications through for industrial scale farming, whereas they would not have the same, they would have greater problems getting them approved in other parts of the UK or other parts of Europe. When you have 60,000 pigs in one site, the only way you can keep them alive is using high levels of antibiotics and other drugs, and that creates a high risk of antibiotic resistance. We also know that the antibiotic resistance is in the pig slurry. The slurry will be spread from Limavady all the way to the outskirts of Londonderry. That is the scale of this farm. I didn't ask to do this. It's very stressful because at the end result is if we lose or when we lose, what options have we got? The chief planner, for example, says, why don't you just move? I think the greatest power that people have in terms of protecting where they live and their lifestyle is to ask questions. You don't have to be an expert in environmental legislation. You don't have to be an expert in the science around environmental protection. All you have to do is ask the regulatory bodies, why are you doing this? What are you doing? And how are you protecting us?